Qianshengcai's fainting was just a trivial matter. In fact, even the losses to these shops in the downtown area are trivial. As Lu Ming made the Fruit Ninja card fully public, this card became really popular. Function. Effect. Lu Ming wrote everything in the paper, which is clear at a glance. And many card makers, after making them according to the design drawings, found that this function is indeed more complete, the content is more complete, and the fun is more interesting. As for the simplicity of the illusion itself? Instead, no one cares. It can be said that Fruit Ninja became popular all over the world, and as the founder, Lu Ming, he became known to countless people along with his thesis. A certain college. A vice dean specializing in illusion sighed after reading all of Lu Ming's materials, "It's a pity that he is not an illusionist." The other teachers agreed. Yes. It's a pity that he is not an illusionist. The key to the success of the Fruit Ninja card is fantasy. If Lu Ming is an illusionist, that is enough to illustrate Lu Ming's creativity in this area. Pity. He is not. He is a card maker. That means that he just had an idea, thought of this, and then found someone to make it. Moreover, even if he was really talented in illusions, it would be too late. Lu Ming is already 16 years old this year. He has passed the best age to get started. It is already too late to practice illusion science again. It is too late to give up the original card and rebuild the illusion core. That's why the vice president felt it was a pity. Where's the Card Creators Association? The vice dean asked. The response was very dull. After all, although Fruit Ninja is popular, there is almost no card-making technology, so those old-timers don't care at all. The popularity this time. It actually shows his business talent. A teacher said this. Let me think about it. The vice dean felt it was a pity and took the initiative to recommend Lu Ming to his friend, a powerful card maker. However, after reading it, the person was silent for a long time. This card is too crude. It's not just an illusion, the entire card-making process is very crude. Do you know what I saw? It doesn't have any technical content. Not to mention the high-end card-making process, let's just talk about this design drawing. The messy textures, only those involving used energy cards, are slightly neater. The other textures are in the correct position, but the drawing is very sloppy and has no sense of beauty. Without a doubt. This is a card maker who majors in energy cards. He is cannon fodder who came out of an energy card training institution. He is completely different from a normal card maker. He doesn't even have the standards that a card maker should have. Maybe Fruit Ninja's creativity was good and made him popular. But for the card maker shook his head and left. The vice dean was silent for a long time and sighed, "What a pity." Naturally, he was not the only one who liked Lu Ming. Lu Ming's popularity made many people notice him. However, those card makers could only shake their heads after seeing Lu Ming's drawing method. The traces of his origins in this training institution were too obvious. The writing skills are not good. The energy is unstable. Not standardized enough. Many card makers commented. People like geniuses, but obviously not this kind. Training institutions mass-produce millions of low-level brick-and-mortar gangsters every year. How many of them can stand out? What's more, the way that training institutions treat card makers as money-making machines is disgusting to all card makers. Furthermore, they also hate the card makers who come out of training institutions. Where do they make cards? That was clearly a copy. People who come out of training institutions are not even qualified to become card makers. Training institution, haha. No matter how good the idea is, it can't stop this inferior technique. No matter how popular it is, it can't cover up his drawing technique that can almost be described as ugly. Come from a training institution. It's too embarrassing for the card makers. Card making should be elegant. Many card makers are also criticizing Lu Ming. However, no matter how they evaluate Lu Ming, they can't stop one thing: Fruit Ninja is so popular that no one can ignore it. Even Crazy Massacre. Whether in the news, on the internet, or in friend circles, Fruit Ninja has swept almost every page. What's your score? It's 120, what about you? I'm only 150, hee. I'll go, there was a big wave at 120, how did you avoid it? I react quickly. No, I have to go back to practice. People talked a lot. Rankings, arguments, points. Heat explodes. Fruit Ninja has become a must-have card for almost everyone. Of course, some people were dissatisfied with the crude illusion and began to improve it. Fruit Ninja, A Life of Slashing, Fruit Ninja, Meteor Hammer, Fruit Ninja, Shoot Through the Sky. All kinds of strange versions are freshly released, different weapons, different professions, and even the fantasy background are also fine-tuned. On this basis, people produced a more powerful effect. Fruit Ninja was promoted by these illusion masters. Certainly. The most popular one is still Lu Ming's version. It is true that its illusion is simple, its realism is low, and its duration is short, but its low cost is amazing and no one can surpass it. Even the updated version only requires 45 points of energy. Who can do it? No one can do it. Because the fireball technique with the lowest demand requires 50 points of energy. Some of the Fruit Ninja fantasy cards improved by those people even have more than 100 energy points. It is more realistic and naturally consumes more money. However, major card stores, after the initial experience turmoil, could only accept the popularity of the card and sell Fruit Ninja fantasy cards as training cards. The cost price of each piece is 70 yuan, and it is only sold for 100 yuan, so the profit is just a craft fee. Boss, 1 Fruit Ninja card. Boss, I want 10. Qingming City. Suburbs. The flower-armed man from the loan company looked at the reports on the internet with a confused look on his face, and then looked at the so-called words, founder of Fruit Ninja, and felt a burst of pain. That pretty boy actually has this ability? Damn it. Did you keep the negatives? Said the big man next to him, if you keep the negatives of this kid, I can get a lot of money. Aye. The man with the flowery arm opened his mouth and said sadly, this guy would have been a long time ago. Give me the settlement, and I will clear out all the information, including his photos. Don't you have a problem with keeping negatives? The big man looked fiercely, don't tell me, you are even a kid. There are no negatives. I will only keep those pictures of beautiful girls. The man with the flowery arm smiled bitterly, some cowardly characters can do something by blackmailing them, but this guy. Why should I keep those women's clothes? Women's clothing? What's the use of the boss's photos besides taking up memory? God knows. How amazing he was when he saw those photos for the first time, and even those, that, until he later found out that the guy was a male, he almost felt sick to death. If it wasn't for the 100,000 yuan, he would have deleted it long ago. Why would you keep it? Who would have thought that that guy actually had such strength? The money I got. Several people were quite annoyed. They knew that without Guojiao, Lu Ming would never bother them. And at this moment, amid the popularity of Parallel Ninja, the protagonist Lu Ming is very low-key. It's getting late. Lu Ming was still making cards very seriously. He knows one thing very well, selling cards is just to pay off debts. Making money is just for cultivation. In this world, what you can really rely on is your own strength. He also saw the comments online. In fact, those people are right. Many people who come out of training institutions are just doing tricks and repeating labor and work. This was the case in the previous life, and it is the same in this life. Geniuses who create programs and programmers who code repetitively are not the same species at all. In the eyes of those card makers, Lu Ming was obviously a coder at the lowest level. He only knew about repetitive labor every day and didn't even have his own thoughts. However, Lu Ming didn't care about their evaluation at all. His journey has just begun. Sooner or later, he will let these guys know what a real card maker is. As for now, of course, the most important thing is to improve your strength in a low-key manner. He originally only had 48 energy points, but during that period of time, he made 300 cards like crazy and abruptly increased his energy by 12 points, reaching 60 points. Only. This energy is still too little. It is barely enough to make the lowest level attack card. I'm still too weak. Lu Ming understood his own strength. Card practice. This is the most basic way to improve. There are two aspects to the improvement of the card maker's strength. On the one hand, it is the improvement of energy, which is the basis. After all, only when the energy is strong can we make more powerful cards. On the other hand, it's card-making technology. Only by mastering powerful card-making technology can you create more powerful cards. Energy improvement requires a lot of resources and cannot be rushed, so Lu Ming is more concerned about technology. Powerful card-making technology can make the pattern look simpler, more standardized, and neater, and can accomplish things that a single pattern cannot. For example, cross-grain. What to do when two roads cross? If you draw it straight, the energy of the two lines will conflict and become confused, and the card will fail to be produced, so this is a technique that must be mastered. In addition, there are also higher-end three-way intersections, four-way intersections, etc. If he wants to become a real card maker, he still needs to learn a lot. And the technology Lu Ming mastered was zero. You have to study hard. Lu Ming took a deep breath. Card-making technology is naturally available on the market and in the Card Creators Association, and there are even complete learning sets of cards, but at that price. His Pheasant Vocational Academy, which doesn't care about it, can't even count on it. Let's get an attack card first and study the patterns. Lu Ming decided to try it tomorrow. Late at night. There are fewer and fewer customers passing by. Lu Ming looked at the time and prepared to close the door. Only. Just when he walked to the door, he suddenly saw a shadow under the shade of a tree, hiding outside the surveillance range, and he immediately became vigilant. Who? Lu Ming shouted.